guys, welcome to the June garden tour. We're starting here in the shade garden. I'm just taking a quick look at what's changed from the May garden tour. So this garden's pretty much the same. It's filling out quite a bit. The heucheras here, I moved two of them to the back. So they were getting kind of big, and so I just moved them to the back so that because they're taller than everything else, and so this way it's kind of like they're spread out a lot more, and there's a little bit of space in here for planting. Alright, just gonna grab my tea and we'll make our way into the secret garden. Alright, so first of all, this is what greets you. There's a wall of grasses that have grown up finally. And there we go. That's what everything's kind of looking like. Everything's a lot taller than it was a month ago. And we're just going to go on a little walk through the garden. There's the corn straight ahead and some dahlias at the bottom. And let's just pan on this one here. So let's see, the bergamot here has started to flower. And you can see the roses in there are really blooming their heads off really nicely. And the calibrachoa, which is hanging off the edges of this pot and the other pot on this side, are really starting to kind of like hang over the way they were supposed to when I planted them. We've got climbing roses climbing up this trellis here, and they are not very big, and I don't know why. I still have to figure out about roses. I don't know that much about roses. And let's see, these snapdragons right along there. Snapdragons and dahlias, it's a mix in one row. And they're all flowering, it's really nice. Oops, the barn. All right. And just do a quick, there's the greenhouse, do a quick tour of this garden here. There's the small ones here. I transplanted them in, the dahlias, for some color because there was color on the other side and there just wasn't any on this corner. So there we go. The liatris is enormous, and I had no idea it was going to get this big. I really thought it was like going to be half the size, but no blooms yet, but tall as. Okay. And then you see our lavender hedge. Let's see if I can get it from both sides. Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted it a little closer together, I guess. I imagined it closer together, but straight ahead we have some red gladiolas blooming in the pots. And there's more gladiolas, some white ones and some peach ones, I think, in the pots at the front. And the red ones are ones I saved from last year. And so they're, I guess, a little bit bigger. They're older. They're putting up a lot more flowers than they did last year. All right, and then we got the trellis with the peas and sunflower and clematis on it. Clematis is done blooming for now. There's a bunch of volunteer sunflowers because that's where I had the bird seed, and they just knocked out all those sunflowers and they all came up. All right. This is the berry bush. That one's a blackberry, the tall one, and then on the ground are strawberries, and in the front is a gooseberry. And there's a row of peppers that I don't think that was planted last tour. That's a new one. We had to rip out all the kale and stuff. That was done. We got lettuce, And then we have onions at the back and some dahlias coming towards me. And then the dandelion at the front, or chicory, the chicory. Here's the tomato bed with tomatoes on either side strung up, and carrots are in the middle. And you can see we've been harvesting carrots, and we're going sort of that direction. We have, we've harvested a lot of carrots, and there's still a lot of carrots there, so that's pretty exciting. Here we have beets, a row of beets, bull's blood beets, and then our row of mint, which is enormous. And then in front of the mint, we have just some thyme and some catnip and some lovage. And here's the path going to the compost there, and it's completely grown in with mint, and I'm just going to come by and shear it back, I think, because it's crazy. It smells really nice, though. All right, then here I have my climbing roses, another set of climbing roses that are not climbing, and they have a trellis, but I didn't tie them to the trellis because they're all coming the wrong way, and they're so pretty, and I don't know what to do to make them climb up the trellis. Here's the other climbing rose that is, I guess it's putting on more growth, so maybe that's gonna climb. We'll find out. All right, and then we have this path here. We've got some of the king tut grasses here. They are so much bigger than they were. There we go. You can see they're like twice as tall as last month. And we got some dahlias planted here, and they're starting to flower, so next time should be really beautiful. We got some gladiolas here, and here's the corner garden, and you can see just on the edge here that we've got the morning glories starting to climb up the fence. So I've been weeding it and pulling out all the excess morning glories and just trying to leave like one row against the fence, and they are starting to grow up, and probably by next month they'll be covering this whole fence. And I have it on both fences in the corner, so it should be completely enclosed. Here's my St. John's wort that is like the biggest ever St. John's wort I've ever seen. I'm gonna take the flowers off and make St. John's wort oil for wintertime massage, because it's really, really good for depression, and probably tons of other things, but we usually use it for depression, and if I put it in a coconut-based oil, it'll last a lot longer, so I'm going to do that. Let's see, the clematis is kind of, taking a little break. I think this is one of the ones that goes really hard in the spring and then takes a break and comes back in the fall, so it's probably going to put on some new growth. And we have our first echinacea flower in there. And there's the stump of potatoes, and I've been adding soil to it. So here's my my wheelbarrow, and there's where I just dump extra soil into that. And let's see, here's the trellis, I don't know what we call it. The trellis I want to be a covered trellis, and you can see that the plants are no longer super tiny. We've got a lot of the cucumbers are coming way up. We've got some beans coming way up, and then we've got some that are still really, really, really short too on the edges here. So those beans were planted a lot later, and they'll probably just need a little bit of heat and water to get bigger. Maybe I'll fertilize them and see how that works for them. Oh, cat. Trusty mouse predator. We have some artichokes at the front here. Those spiky ones are all artichokes. And we had cut down the celery yesterday. That's where all the cuts are. And we left one plant, but they were taller than me. They were like 8 feet tall, those celery. And they were blocking a lot of the light from the tomatoes, which this whole row is Roma tomatoes. So they're bush tomatoes. And I staked them up with a weave system to see how that does, because last time I had them on a on grow strings, and they just became really bushy, and a lot of things kind of just, you know, died. So this is new. Let's see. Oh, look at those. That is the zucchini row, and look at those zucchinis. Got some yellow zucchinis, or summer squash, I guess some people call them. And this row is a row of green zucchinis. And we have been harvesting them, so we got our first harvest probably last week. And let's see, there we have the cabbages. There's the cabbages, they're doing pretty well. I'm surprised. I thought there was a lot more bugs that would eat cabbages, but so far they're doing really well. We got this row of herbs, and they're starting to go to seed, so we'll probably pull that out. Maybe I'll replace it with dahlias, but don't tell Tamash. Okay, the red ones right there are amaranth, and those are new, I believe, since the last tour, and they're already huge, and I'm hoping that they will get so huge you won't be able to see through them. And then we got our potatoes there, and let's see, things along here that have changed. There's the purple anemones there. They're looking nice. And we've got some nasturtiums coming through. Those are all reseeded from last year. And some iris and some gladiolas. Not flowering yet, so we got some daisies there. Nice. And the delphiniums are done-ish for now. Like, they got some little heads on them. I cut back the big spires, or some of them. We got this clematis, the Jackmanii clematis. That one's doing really well. It finally is fully blooming. And the foxglove, which was so great and enormous and tall, last video is now, I cut back all the tall ones because they were done, and we've got a second blooming going on. Just very small, short ones, but it works. Let's see. The snapdragons are blooming there, and it's kind of messy here. I feel like it needed a lot more space, and I learned that lesson last year. I just forgot it. Let's see. We got our pansies under the redbud tree, and in the back there, see that lupin? That is my lupin that I grew from seed. I'm so happy at least one of them is coming up. I mean, they're all coming up, but this is the first one to flower, so I'm really excited about that. And on the back wall there, the wisteria vine is getting quite a bit bigger. So hopefully, you know, next year it'll cover a lot better. All right, and we're back here. Let's just do, I guess there's a little bit more over here. Okay, we have our row of calendula that is doing really well. First time it's really worked out for us. We've planted it lots of times. Sometimes it gets lost in the weeds, and I've been really good at weeding this. So that's not happening, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for some reason, you know, or it's very sparse, or things die. We got a catnip right there, and those are the chives that are kind of done blooming, and I cut back one row of them, and they are coming back actually. Let's see. Whew, this is a big show. These orange dahlias have been awesome. Just early and prolific. Really, really nice. And then we've got our Jacob's Ladder is blooming. And a lot of the other things are out of bloom right now. The dahlias haven't started, and the bleeding hearts are done, and the columbine is done for now anyway. And then we have a little bit more morning glory growing up the fence here. And got some calla lilies. There's the yellow one and the purple one, which is called black. And then this is the wisteria that I planted actually last year that just did really a whole bunch of nothing. And this year is so much more prolific and better, and just like it's getting really big. So, I mean, I think it just takes time. Some things just take time. There's the azalea. And then we've got some volunteer sunflowers, volunteer nasturtiums, volunteer morning glory. Everything just growing all up around the compost bins. Let's just take a quick look down the carrot and tomato row again. And then it goes straight into the trellis, which I'm really excited about. I was hoping we would have, the carrots would be big enough we would have harvested a lot more by now, but there's a lot of small carrots there still. All right, so we'll just go quickly through the greenhouse. And there we got a grass growing up here. That's quite a bit bigger. And then some seating area. There's my tea again. And another grass on the other side to frame it. And this is really a nice place to sit in the morning if you want the sun, or in the evening if you want the shade. So the greenhouse is getting a little unruly. It's enormous, and it's a lot of work, but I'm pretty proud of it. Let's see, we'll go in here. So on the edge here we have, let's see if I can down. Okay, we have a whole row of eggplants. No eggplants yet, but we've got some purple flowers on there. You can see some purple flowers in there. And then we've got a row of tomatoes that are called Bonnie Best tomatoes. And there's also some Matina tomatoes. And you can see that the tomatoes are coming along pretty well. Nothing's red yet, but what can you do? Time. All right, and then we've got our tall rows of cherry tomatoes. See how tall those guys are? This one is two different types. I think a sweet yellow pear tomato and a mixed cherry tomato. And then this row is all cherry tomatoes, red cherry tomatoes. And we have this new trellis system that we were doing, because as you can see, all the strings are going kind of out, which I thought would be good for like spaces of tomatoes, but actually it made the walkways really cramped. So we put this in place a couple days ago, and that makes the walkways a lot more walkable, because as you can see, it's pretty tight. And then here's the cucumbers, and we've probably harvested like 6 or 8 cucumbers. Let's see if I can go close to one here. There we go. They're the long, skinny, kind of English style cucumbers, but they're Japanese cucumbers. They're my favorite kind, but that's all we grew because we knew. And then over here on the edge, where it's kind of shorter, we have peppers. There we go, a whole row of peppers. Okay, and there's the greenhouse. All right, and then we have this circling of pots that are surrounding a grass. The grass is in the ground, and the pots are not on drip, they're movable, but you also have to water them all the time. And then we set up our eating placement here, and then here's where our relaxing spot is. Now that's all in shade a lot of the time. It looks like it's in the sun right now, but it's not. And here's a little update on our shade container garden. Got those really nice. Oh, we put a ladder up to the roof there too. So we've got this one with the calibrachoa and the geraniums, and then this one with the coleus and sweet potato vines, and oh, I can't remember that one. A whole bunch of trailers, and I mean, they're full. It's nice. It's not exactly how I imagined it, but what is at this point? And there's our ginkgo tree right there, and Gachucola, and the aloe vera came out from the greenhouse, and we have the fern, and then the ginseng plants in the bottom there. There we go. And a little bit of the base of the tree with the creeping jenny and tiger lilies. This doesn't get any water, it just gets rainwater, so they're not as advanced as the others. All right, and that is the end of the June garden tour. Look how big everything is. It's so big and lush. Thanks for watching.